Democrats don't care if men compete in women's sports, but they definitely want to keep them out of women's shorts.
Congressman, why should men be in women's sports?
Shorts?
Sports. Why do you think
They should not be in shorts.
That is Steve Cohen, by the way. He's a Democrat, and he represents Tennessee's 9th District. He's the only Democrat in the Tennessee delegation, which is kind of weird. And he's been there for a very long time. At 75 years of age, as you can see, he's riding around rascal. And I'm not faulting the man for riding around in a rascal. I'm just faulting him for, maybe not having the best hearing in the world.
why should men be in women's sports?
Shorts?
Sports. Why do you think
They should not be in shorts.
Now, technically, he didn't say women's shorts. He just said shorts. So maybe he doesn't think men should wear shorts at all. But this is yet another example of why we probably should reinvestigate the idea of term limits. In the United States Constitution, there is no such thing as a term limit for senators or members of the House of Representatives. Term limits are non-existent, and that's why we end up with congressmen like Steve Cohen, who has served, well, I'll just show you. Steve Ira Cohen, born May 24th, 1949, who is 75 years old, had served in the Congress since 2007. That is almost 20 years. Let's see, 2007, 2014. That's going to be about 20 years divided by 2. That's 10 terms that he's served in office. He just keeps getting elected over and over and over again. He's not the only one. The Democrats are really famous for aged, old, decrepit, cringy weirdos that just never, ever, ever leave office. They just, well past retirement age, I'd like to point out. Another one of them is from Connecticut. It's Rosa DeLauro. And she's in the New Haven area, and she's 82 years old. She just released one of the cringiest videos I've ever seen on the entire internet, where she wrote, or where she had her Gen X staff write her, this is like a trend that's going along. My Gen X staff wrote the script for this video. Here she is trying to be cool.
Yo, this is the Ranking Rizzler on Appropriations, serving Connecticut's 3rd District.
Now, by the way, calling yourself the Ranking Rizzler right out of the gate is just something I wouldn't recommend anybody does, especially an 82-year-old woman with purple hair, but I digress.
It's time to enter your dark academia Congress era. All right, besties, House Appropriation is the money moves in Congress. We are not chasing the bag, we are the bag. Big L, posting it online, buddy. Democrats understood the assignment, but go off. See how I keep you informed? Very cutesy, very demure.
Term limits. I'm just, again, I've always been a big fan of term limits. Now, if you think that Steve Cohen has been in Congress a very long time, you're right. But check out Rosa DeLauro. Rosa Luisa DeLauro is an American politician who is in her 18th term as the U.S. representative for Connecticut's 3rd District. 18th term, not 18 years. That would be long enough. That would be long enough for anybody, but 18th term, and a term is 2 years, which means when you multiply it by 2, that's 36 years this woman has spent in Congress and there's no one else in Connecticut's 3rd District in the last almost 4 decades that could do the job that this woman does, or at least do it, maybe do it a little less weird. But that's the problem with the Democrat Party. That's the problem with both parties. There's a real issue with term limits, and term limits comes up every now and then. I've always been a huge proponent of them. I've always been a big fan, just both for the Senate and for the House of Representatives. And there's 3 reasons why term limits are important. The first one, of course, is that the things that were important to Congress people 36 years ago are no longer important to the voters. For example, when Rosa DeLauro went to Congress, she was, let's see, if you're 82, okay, she was in like her 50s or 40s. When you're 40 years old, 50 years old, your ideas of what's important, your priorities, if you will, the things that you need Congress to do for you are very different. When you're retired, when you're 80, you kind of lose focus on what's going on with the younger generation or the middle age generation in her case, and you don't really understand what the majority of Americans are looking for out of their political representatives. The second thing is that when you get to Congress, for example, you want to make sure that you are on a committee. You want to make sure that you're able to not only get on a committee, but serve on a committee, and maybe even, as the ranking Rizzler on appropriations can tell you, get to one of the leadership positions. However, the way it is right now with these people serving for 18 terms, it's almost impossible to get on a good committee and work your way up to the point where you can be a chairperson. You need to be in the Congress at least 10 years, which is 5 terms, to get anywhere near chairing a committee. And that's just not fair. Sometimes you want the new younger blood with the new fresher ideas on the not just on the committee, but chairing the committee and making sure that it runs smoothly and making sure that things that are important to the current generation of Americans are getting done. And then the third reason is, of course, that you don't want people going to Congress to be career politicians. You want people going there to serve a certain amount of time. Do what you can, bring your experience, bring your expertise to Congress so that you can help the majority of Americans, and then you leave and go back to the private sector. Congress was never supposed to be a career. In fact, in the old days, Congress was a part-time job. Being a senator was a part-time job. When the Constitution was written and George Washington was president and James Madison was putting the finishing touches on the Bill of Rights, all of the delegates, everybody who came to the Continental Congress, for example, everyone that came to the Constitutional Convention, the very first senators and Congress people were part-time employees of the government. They were lawyers by day, and they'd get together on the weekends or late at night, and they'd write laws for the rest of the United States of America. They were farmers and plantation owners by day, and then they would get together, a couple times a year and do whatever the business of the United States needed to be done. It was never supposed to be this full-time position, but as, of course, things got bigger and as things got more complicated and as the government ballooned, they started making it a full-time job. They never, however, limited it the way they do the other positions in government. A lot of states have term limits on their representatives and their governors, and we even have term limits on the president. No longer can presidents serve unlimited number of terms like Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Now they're limited to 2 terms, either consecutive or non-consecutive. But these people in Congress can stick around forever. And it doesn't matter that when they get there, they're spry and young and full of vim and vigor and great ideas. And by the time they leave, not only can they not walk, but they can't hear.
Shorts?
Sports. Why do you think
They should not be in shorts.
We should keep men out of women's sports. We should keep men out of women's shorts. And we should keep people out of Congress for the majority of their adult life. And look, I'm not saying older people or elderly individuals can't serve in Congress. I'm saying they shouldn't be able to enter Congress when they're middle-aged and still be there when they're knocking on heaven's door. If you enjoyed any part of this video, do both of us a favor. Hit like, subscribe, set those notifications so we can continue to bring you great content all the time. Hit like, subscribe, set notifications. Do it right now.